But when you're given 2 weeks to live, what does it have to lose? Took her vitamins, minerals, bought a juicer, water. Okay, she came to me the beginning of February with 2 weeks to live. She called me the end of May, the last week of May, and when she first came to me, she could barely talk. I can't breathe. When she called me the end of May, she said, listen, and she went, and she took a deep breath. The tumors in her lungs had been disappearing. She went to her pathologist, to her oncologist. They did not believe she was still alive. They did a complete test. They put her through complete body CAT scan. All the tumor in her rectum, which was a grapefruit-sized tumor, was gone. They didn't believe the CAT scan. They went up with a scope to look for it. It was gone. The tumors in the pelvic bone were gone, and all the tumors in her lungs were almost gone. She had 14 nodules in her lungs. They could not believe their eyes. This is now, what we're talking September, she is now cancer-free. Now, I don't know anyone with colon cancer, rectal cancer, bone cancer, and lung cancer not doing chemo or radiation still alive, and she is doing fine.
Almost 2 years ago now, I was diagnosed with colon cancer. I had total blockage in my colon. They had diagnosed it and told me that in maybe 2 weeks they were going to have to remove it. And I had a friend of a friend who had been doing some herbal medicines, and I said, well, if we don't have to take anything out of my body, I'd rather do it that way. So I tried. I used some herbs and had remarkable shrinkage. That was just total difference, and some people would call it a miracle. But they went to remove them and saw that they were too small to even remove. So, and this was after only 3 weeks of taking the herbal medicines. They had told me that it was a misdiagnosis and it was not cancer. So of course I figured, well, I don't have to do the herbal medicines anymore. And 6 months later I had cancer in my stomach. And when they found that out, they wanted to try radiation. So I went for several radiation treatments. I think it was like 4 or 5. Then I had an emergency situation come up where my grandfather was killed in an automobile accident, and my grandmother was legally blind and couldn't really take care of herself in her own home. And if there was no one to take care of her, she would have ended up in a nursing home, and I really couldn't see that happening with her state of mind being so good, and she just couldn't see. It was a basic problem. So I decided I was going to go move there and take care of her. When I moved there, the doctor had told me that she was more interested in chemotherapy rather than radiation, since what she had seen, the radiation really hadn't helped a whole lot. And so I agreed, of course, and I worked full-time at a hospital and was taking care of my grandmother at home. And after my 3rd chemotherapy treatment, I worked in the lab in the hospital, and one of my coworkers just started screaming, and I really couldn't figure out what the problem was. And I finally got it out of her that she said, go look in the mirror, and my eyes were actually bleeding. And I found out later that this is just a side effect from the chemotherapy, and that there was really nothing we could do about this. So the doctor had agreed that maybe the next dosage would be just a little bit less powerful. After the 4th treatment, I was also at work, and I collapsed. My heart had stopped beating and my lungs just stopped.